How to make real estate in bad neighborhoods more valuable. Coming up. Hi everyone, this is Dr. Ernesto from Attaboy Cowboy. In this channel we give you health and wealth tips to help you be more successful. Now today I'm filming in Buenaventura, Colombia, and I wanted to share with you some tips on what to do when you buy property in bad neighborhoods. In my own experience, about 20-30 years ago, I read some reports that they were going to start building up downtown Los Angeles. It was basically a slum. It was only homeless people and gangs, and no one wanted to live around there. It's very dangerous. It's like that in a lot of inner cities. But a lot of propositions being passed, billions of dollars were soon going to be spent on building it up and rehabbing everything. So I knew that the real estate would be worth a lot in the future. It's like that in a lot of urban centers. You know, it cuts commute time, it's a lot more convenient, and it puts you close to where all the real interesting things are, like the museums, the art, the culture, all that other stuff. So a lot of people are actually re-centralizing in big cities. So with that in mind, you know, when you're looking for real estate, you know, the prices are all over the place, especially like in big cities. You can go maybe 1 mile apart and the price can literally double the price here in Los Angeles from 1 mile to the next. And it just depends on the neighborhood that you're in. So it's really easy to impact how the prices are in your neighborhood and how you can improve that. So let me give you 4 tips for increasing the value of your real estate and succeeding in bad neighborhoods. Tip number 1, learn how to talk to the police, okay? That's gonna be number 1. You're gonna have to be calling the police often. You wanna learn how to deal with them cordially. First off, whenever you see police, just remember, it's a thankless job. They have a very difficult job. You know, they have a target on their back. People are disrespectful. People don't appreciate them. I, for one, really do appreciate police officers because it's a difficult job, okay? So first off, always start off with, you know, officer, thank you for your service. And then go on. You'll see them just light up. Everybody likes to be appreciated in this world. And cops definitely deserve our appreciation and our recognition for their service to our communities anywhere in the world. Okay, so remember that. Always approach them with respect. You know, don't use foul language. Be courteous, be kind. Don't interrupt them. Let them speak. You know, times are a lot easier now because a lot of them are using body cams. In the old days here in LA, the cops used to roll over you, bully you. They were really crude, in my opinion. It's not like that anymore. They're very service oriented now. They have a lot better training. They're a lot more docile. They're better with dealing with the public. So I appreciate that. Tip number 2, call the police often. Okay, so when I've bought or acquired places that are in bad neighborhoods, I look around and right away when I see stuff like, for example, people blasting the radio all night or during the day all into the street, that's not cool. That's noise pollution. Most people are not gonna like that. It's gonna make your neighborhood look ghetto. It's going to lower the quality of life for yourself or your tenants. So rather than go over there and try to talk to the neighbors, which from experience never works, all you do is make enemies and then they hate you, and then when you do call the cops, they know it's you and then they try to cause you a bunch of problems. It's just not worth it. Just remove yourself, call the police as often as you need to, and say anonymously. They're going to ask you, would you like to leave your name? No, say anonymous. You don't want to make enemies. Let the cops deal with it. That's why they're there. That's why you're paying property taxes and you're paying taxes at police. I'll call the police 5-6 times in the same day if I need to go out and talk to people to turn down the radio or stop revving their engines or whatever they're doing that I find disreputable. The reason being is that it creates peace in the neighborhood. It attracts a certain type of energy. You know, if you have rap, you know, booming up and down the street, it just attracts a very negative element. It just doesn't sound good, especially if they're talking about, you know, bad words and all that kind of stuff. If it's foul music, it's even worse. But even just loud music, even if it was classical music, it doesn't matter. It's not cool. So you want peace and quiet, tranquility. Now, if I see large gatherings, in my situation, they were gang members. multiple gang members. They had guns, they had knives. You know, people would come try to rent the places. They would get scared. They see all these guys out there. They're like, oh, I'm not gonna live next to those guys. I call the cops. The cops would say, hey, why are you calling? I'd say, well, I thought I saw him with a gun. You know, I thought I saw him with a knife. You know, if they hear something like that, they have to come out. Of course, you don't want to make false police reports, but if you think you saw something, you think you saw something. So oftentimes I thought I saw something, so I would call the police. Better safe than sorry. They would come out, they would get all the guys, they put them all up against the walls, their hands up, they start frisking them all. You know, they didn't like that. So soon they would stop gathering on my streets. They would go to other places, you know, wherever they're at, it's fine, but not on your street. You don't want a bunch of guys hanging out. A lot of times they do have guns or drugs. Not always, but in my situation, I knew they did. They were drug dealers. All the neighbors told me they were doing drugs. They would have shootouts. They would shoot people. They shot some of my neighbors. I had like 3 friends out of my neighborhood that actually got shot and killed. Okay, so I'm not making it up. I'm not guessing. Now, if you're just doing it because you don't like the way someone looks, that's not nice. You don't want to do that. You want to have a legit reason of why you want to, you know, put pressure on those people. Now, if they're not doing anything wrong, then there's no problem. The cops will talk to them and they'll be on their way. But you know, if the cops come down, it's at their discretion. If the cops are frisking them and they're arresting people, then something's not right. Or at least they think there's something not right. And that was the case. So now I would call, they would arrest people. Or they would like start, you know, threatening them and telling them not to hang out and everything. Because they knew they were gang members. And they knew they were. So they didn't want them hanging out because they knew they would cause more trouble. If you see other things that's not cool, like I would have people parking in my driveway, I would have their cars towed. I'd have them ticketed. I have people parking on my lawn, in my house, I would have them ticketed and towed. I wouldn't try to be Mr. Nice Guy. I tried, I used to put notes. They wouldn't move their cars. They would throw them on the ground and leave their cars there. Then I tried ticketing. That would work for like a few weeks. They wouldn't come back, they wouldn't come back. And then I started towing, then they would actually stop coming back anymore. So it was a good thing to tow their cars. Tip number 4, stay safe. Now, you don't want to be a crime fighter. Don't go out there and argue with people, don't fight, all that kind of stuff. When I first started investing in real estate and I was in really ghetto neighborhoods, I would come home and I remember one night there was a gang member sitting in my driveway drinking 40s with his girlfriend. And I walked out and I said, excuse me, can you move your car so I could park? You know, I was tired, I'd been working like 16 hours. I just wanted to go home and chill out. And he told me to F off. And he said, this is my neighborhood, I'll park wherever I want. And I thought, oh gosh. So okay, well, you know, I'm not gonna sit there and start arguing or fighting. I just picked up my phone on speaker. I called 911. I said this guy was, you know, not moving his car. And the guy started saying he was gonna shoot me, he was gonna burn my house down. Now, in retrospect, that wasn't very smart. I should have went into my car and called the police. I shouldn't have done it in front of them. Don't do things that are provocative. It's just not worth it. People actually do get shot and killed. So you don't want that. You don't want altercations with people. And they don't have nothing to lose oftentimes, so they don't mind getting into those altercations. So you want to avoid all those things, but definitely stay safe and don't be scared to call the police. Just call from inside your house, inside your car, as many times you need to, but anonymous. Now, I had a friend, his name was John Nestler. He had a bunch of buildings, over 40. They were all in bad neighborhoods. He would go over there and he would, you know, reprimand people for writing on his buildings, the graffiti, all this other stuff. He had every right to, but was it a smart thing to do? No. Don't put yourself at risk. One time they got annoyed by him. 12 guys got him. My friend is huge. He's 6'4", 240, solid chiseled muscle. He looks like a, you know, like a boxer or something. They got him down on his knees, they stuck a gun in his mouth, and they made him beg for his life, okay? And all the guys were laughing at him, and they were all chanting, shoot him, shoot him. My friend just sat there and he said he peed in his pants. So pretty scary stuff, so you don't want to deal with that. So I learned from him, I don't engage. In fact, just this week, I went out to patrol. I walked around at like 4 in the morning, and there were like 2 cars parked in my driveway. Now, that's unreasonable. Why would you park in someone else's driveway, someone else's home? That doesn't make any sense. So I called the tow trucks and I was waiting, and I just saw some guy walking around. I said good morning to him. He said good morning. Okay, that was it. And you know, while I was waiting for the tow truck, I was walking around the corner. When I came around the corner, I saw the guy had removed like the street cover right in front of my house, and kind of like a manhole cover, and he was cutting the wires for the street lights, and all the lights went out. And I said, what are you doing? He had a bolt cutter. You could tell this guy was a pro. He had like a bunch of tools. And he says, I'm gonna take these wires. I go, no, you're not. I go, that's not yours, it belongs to the city. And he got aggressive with me. He jumped up and he acted like he was gonna cut me with the bolt cutters. Now, I could have easily taken this guy, but you don't want violence, and I don't want to fight with anybody, okay? So I just stepped out of the way. I called 911. I had my earpiece on. I called the police. While I was on the phone calling them and telling them what was happening, the guy didn't speak that much English. He became a little more remorseful. He started saying, hey, he changed his tune, you know. He put his bolt cutters away. He started telling me, hey, well, you know what? I'm really hungry. I just need to take these wires so I could sell them and buy some food. And I thought, okay, well, you know, I was trying to stall till the police got there. So I started asking him questions, like, well, how often do you do this? He says, every day, every night. And I thought, wow. And I thought, how much do you make? I asked him. He says, I make about $15. $15 to go and cut the wiring out of light posts and, you know, street lightings. Now, to put that in perspective, this guy's gonna make 15 bucks, but the damage and the work to prepare that is gonna be in the tens of thousands of dollars to the city and the taxpayers. Now, I get it, that's not my responsibility, but yeah, I do care. You know, I don't want people doing that. I don't think it's right. I also don't want people trying to cut me with wire cutters. So the police came, they arrested them. They just kind of seemed like they were twiddling their thumbs waiting for me to leave. And I noticed they weren't really doing anything. They weren't saying anything to the guy. They were just kind of waiting. And I said, well, you know, I do want to press charges. And they got really upset. And they made me repeat the story like 3 different times. And they kept trying to intimidate me. They said, you don't want to put this guy in jail. You're going to take his freedom away. I said, I'm not putting him in jail, and I'm not taking his freedom away. He's doing it to himself. He should have thought of that before he started stealing public property and trying to cut me with bolt cutters. And the police officer said, well, hey, you know, it's just a misdemeanor. He's just stealing some wire. They kept like standing up for him, which was interesting. They didn't want to arrest him, by no means. And they kept trying to make me feel guilty. And I said, look, whatever the judge decides, that's up to the judge. I'm not a judge. I'm just saying this guy tried to cut me with bolt cutters, and I'm pressing charges. And they said, well, you know, if you're lying, you're gonna go to jail. They kept saying all sorts of stuff. And I thought, well, I'm not lying, so I'm not worried about going to jail. And then they told the guy, and the guy starts yelling, I never cut him, I never cut him. I said, yeah, I never said he cut me or that he even touched me, but he did try to. He leaped at me, tried to cut me with bolt cutters. I just jumped out of the way. So he didn't, otherwise I would have been cut. Now, if I don't do anything about that, I've already seen this guy multiple times at night. I didn't know what he was doing. Now I know he's going around stealing wires, which is not good. So I'm actually doing a good thing for everybody else. But in terms of myself, my own safety, I don't need this guy walking around my neighborhood trying to cut me with bolt cutters or anybody else. Because he still didn't leave. He still had the audacity to stand there and argue with me and try to convince me to let him take the wires. And I said, why do you want to do that? It's going to cost like tens of thousands of dollars to fix that. He says, I'm hungry. I go, well, I'll give you some food if you want. He says, no, I don't want any food. I just want some money. You know, I guess he probably wanted drug money or something, I suppose. I said, well, you know, that's not yours. It's public property. He says, well, it doesn't matter. It won't hurt anybody. I'm just going to take it. And I said, no. And then he wouldn't leave. He just kept saying, come on, I'm hungry. Let me take it. I said, well, I'll give you food. So he kept going round and round. So, you know, these little things, it makes a big difference. You know, you want to improve your neighborhood, you have to take care of these things. When you see trash out in your neighborhood, I drive around. If I see dumped couches, I see whatever, I call the city. In my city, it's 311. They come clean it up. I see graffiti at the park, at the corner, not just in my buildings. I call. they come and clean it up. If they graffiti my building, I clean up immediately. People that are doing graffiti get pleasure out of seeing their art up and other people seeing it. If they see you're gonna paint over it right away, they don't want to paint on your building because they don't want to waste their money on their paint. And a lot of times those guys don't have a lot of money, and there's risk involved, there's a lot of factors, so they want to get a higher return on their investment in terms of their time and their paint. So they're gonna graffiti places where people don't paint over it. So if you want to improve the general mood in your neighborhood, get rid of the trash, clean it up yourself if you can. Call the city, get the graffiti removed, you know, deal with all that kind of stuff. Loud noises, gatherings of gang members, all that stuff. You need to get all that out. As you do that, the quality of the people that move in the neighborhood is going to improve, and the neighborhood is going to improve. It's going to look nicer. When prospective tenants or buyers come, they're going to feel and see a nicer environment. It's going to attract better people. It's going to improve everything. So that's how you improve your neighborhood overall, and it's going to increase the property value and your rental prospects. So thank you again for listening. And from Colombia, this is Dr. Ernesto. Thank you. Goodbye.